Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are indeed very fortunate today to have the Army Commander amongst us, and I have the privilege to introduce him to you all. Lt Gen Dhiraj Seth, Param Vishesh Seva Medal, Ati Vishesh Seva Medal, an alumnus of National Defence Academy Khadakwasla, was commissioned into an armoured regiment on 20th December 1986. In his 4 decades of illustrious career, the Army Commander has had the distinction of tenanting challenging command and staff appointments in varied operational environments. His command tenures include command of a tank regiment, an armoured brigade along the western borders, a counter-insurgency force in Jammu and Kashmir, the Desert Strike Corps, and later General Officer commanding Delhi area, wherein he led the prestigious Republic Day Parade at Kartavya Path. He commanded the Southwestern Command from 1st November 23 to 30th June 24, that's prior to assuming the command of Southern Command on 1st July 24, where he is right now. Now, my first memories of the General Officer go back to 1984-85 when I was in NDA, and I was in Hunter Squadron, right opposite the squadron Foxtrot, where General Officer was a cadet then, 69th course for Foxtrot Squadron. You must understand that unlike academic institutions like you are in present, it is not the teachers, it is not your officers who train you, it is always the seniors in the same squadron that teach you. And as course-mates, when I was in my second, third term, way back 84-85, one used to frequently discuss the environment in this squadron. And that is when we were very envious of Foxtrot Squadron. My course-mates used to describe him a very gentle, a thorough gentleman. And now we are indeed fortunate. The MBA students are starting the first day of their MBA. It's an induction going on. That we have a thorough soldier, a gentleman, a leader amongst us who is going to now address us all. With that, sir, may I request you to please address the student officers. Thank you.
Professor Paramanandan, the Chancellor here at Sri Balaji University, Professor G.K. Shurude, the Vice Chancellor, Major General Ajay Sethi, the Professor of Practice at the School of Defence and Strategic Studies, members of the faculty, esteemed guests, and most importantly, the bright and aspiring students of this prestigious institution. A very good morning to all of you. To begin with, before I sort of commence, I'd like to pay my tribute to late Professor Dr. Bala Subramanian, who's the founding father of this distinguished institution, a visionary educationist who believed in the transformative power of education. Also, the first in the country to be conferred the rank of colonel, a rare honor that reflected the values he embodied of discipline, dedication, and determination. I'm sure his legacy continues to inspire this institution's commitment to academic excellence, character building, and holistic development of future leaders. So before I commence with whatever I wanted to share with you all today, because I see you all here in such a large number, and I believe you are attending various courses under various institutions under the flagship of Balaji University. So how many of you are sitting here and have joined this college or the colleges that you are studying in after a bit of work experience, who have already worked in the corporate? Can I have a hands up for it? So that's not very many of you over here who have come here after work experience. So you'll need to really focus on what I'm trying to tell you, because all those who have worked in the corporate world would make more sense of what I'm going to be telling them. But for those who are not initiated, I'm sure things, even if you take away 40% of what I'm going to tell you, I can assure you you would have done well for this morning and well for your careers beyond. So at the very outset, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to each one of you for making it to this institution. The selection process, I am told, that you have gone through is a testament to your dedication, intellect, and promise. Your journey here marks not just the beginning of an academic chapter, but the forging of your identity as professionals who will shape the future of India. A special word of appreciation I was told that the parents would also be here, but I'm told that has already happened yesterday. But I can convey this through the wards that are sitting here. Your parents also deserve special mention because it is their unwavering support, sacrifices, and values that have been instrumental in your very success. So this milestone is as much yours as it is theirs. Let me begin by saying that you are the chosen ones. Out of the very many who aspire, only few make it, and with that privilege comes responsibility. In the coming months, you will immerse yourselves in concepts, case studies, frameworks, and strategies. You will be tested, you will be challenged, and groomed not only for the boardroom, but for leadership in a complex and competitive world. Your journey must not remain, therefore, confined to personal aspirations or corporate success alone. I urge you to step back and look at the bigger picture, and that is the India story. A story that is now at historic crossroads. We are no longer a nation of potential, we are a nation of performance. India today is the fourth largest economy of the world. We are emerging as a trusted technology partner, a hub of innovation and digital infrastructure, and a nation which is increasingly seen as a leader of the global south, a country that gives voice to developing nations and aspires to be a Vishwaguru, guiding the world with our civilizational wisdom, democratic values, and inclusive developmental models. Well, this brings me to the shared vision that binds all of us together, whether we wear a uniform, a suit, or an academic robe, and that is of Viksit Bharat 2047. This vision is not a government slogan. It, in fact, is a national mission. It envisions India as a fully developed, inclusive, technologically advanced, economically strong, and globally respected nation by the time we complete 100 years of our independence. It calls for a whole of nation approach where every sector, every citizen, and every institution works in sync towards a common goal. You are the young men and women sitting here today who would be and will be the architects of the future. Your generation will drive the engines of innovation, enterprise, sustainability, and governance that will define our trajectory over the next 2 decades. Well, with that as the bigger picture, I'd like to take you down into a journey which I see as the journey that you would need to navigate through. You know, the world is a challenging world that you would step into starting now and more so after you complete your respective MBA degrees. And this is the world that I wish to introduce to all of you. And how many of you have heard of this acronym called VUCA? VUCA. Am I actually drawing a blank over here? So, okay, if none of you have heard of this acronym called VUCA, well, this word VUCA describes the world that you would be faced with. VUCA stands for an acronym which spells out as V for volatility, U for uncertainty, C for complexities, and A for ambiguity. So these 4 letters, when seen together, actually mean a lot when you step and navigate your journey through the world. And I'll try and highlight certain facets of these 4 words. Originally, these 4 words, or the word VUCA, was coined in the US in 1987. It was more of an army terminology to set stage for strategic leaders to navigate through the post-Cold War era. So that was 1987, and this was VUCA came in. So let's see as to what does exactly VUCA mean. Well, as far as volatility is concerned, it represents the nature and speed of change in an environment. It's marked by sudden, unexpected shifts in markets, technology, consumer behavior, and even global events. Such changes are often short term, but they are intense, and they demand quick and decisive action. A geopolitical conflict or natural disaster that abruptly disrupts, for example, oil prices or global supply chains would be a good example and will therefore need the organization and the leaders therein to be agile, responsive, and equipped to act without full information. So, that in short is what volatility is. So, what is uncertainty? Well, uncertainty, I'm sure you all understand that word, arises when events are unpredictable and we lack the ability to forecast outcomes reliably, even when the data is available. You may know of it, but you're not able to see through it. It reflects a gap between what we know and what we need to know to make informed decisions. Regulatory changes or disruptive startups entering a market and altering competitive dynamics overnight can cause turbulence and bring in uncertainty. The implication thus requiring organizations to cultivate flexibility, need to indulge in scenario planning, and openness to experimentation. Well, what is complexity? Well, complexity describes environments with numerous interrelated variables and stakeholders, where understanding the whole picture when it presents to you itself is challenging. Even a small change in one area can produce large, unforeseen consequences elsewhere. Good examples could be a global company managing trade compliance or trade or labor laws, environmental regulations, and cultural nuances which exist across our country. To counter these complexity dynamics, leaders must build something called a systems thinking. You all need to note this down on Google, because if this is new to you, it's going to take you time to absorb what I'm talking about. And therefore, you need to simplify where possible and foster cross-functional collaboration. And lastly, coming on to the word ambiguity. Everyone knows what ambiguity means? Can anyone tell me what is ambiguity or what is something which is ambiguous? Yeah, anyone? Chalo. You will interact as we move on. Well, ambiguity is when the meaning of an event or a situation is unclear and outcomes are open to multiple interpretations. There is no precedent or clear path forward, making decision making both difficult and risky. A typical situation could be the launching of an innovative product in a new market where consumer needs are still evolving. And the need, therefore, would be to be comfortable with initiative, innovation, and learning through action. Well, what I'll now do is, because VUCA is a term new to you, I'll try and give you some examples from the real business world. And I'm sure all of you haven't heard of VUCA, but all of you must have seen serials and movies on Netflix. I hope all hands come up for that. Or is there someone here who's sitting who is not familiar with Netflix? I presume all of you are familiar with Netflix. Well, for the information of all of you, when Netflix emerged, it was basically a pure DVD rental company. I'm sure you all have, say 15 years back, rented DVD and seen movies. So Netflix started its journey there. And today you know where it is. It's an OTT platform, one of the OTT platforms. And these OTT platforms have put or dwarfed the big screen movies. Today the PVR and all have all become history to the OTT platforms. And how did this happen? Because Netflix, the people who were involved in promoting Netflix, saw through this change that was required. They saw for themselves that physical media is going to be passé in the future. And the future lies in streaming technology. So that's the technology that they got hold of. They started it, launched it on OTT, and thereafter have continued to evolve. You know, there's a word called, say, hyper-localization, meaning to say, you from Orissa and you want to see something in Oriya, they are creating something with their Oriyan culture also or the Odissi, or the, what do you call a person from Odisha has, that culture is brought to fore by Netflix. So they are looking into diverse cultures but have a global audience to it. So they've started to evolve, whether it is in terms of the content of Netflix. You're all aware, you can Google, you go onto Netflix and you can select and choose whatever you want to see. Seeing what you want to see, they have their data analytics backend, and they are able to now evolve the next set of series and the next set of things. So in short, what I wish to say is that Netflix as a company has just been doing the right things to fight the volatility, the ambiguous nature that the world is in store for it, and has today emerged as a dominant player on OTT platforms. So that is as far as Netflix as an example is concerned. I'll give you another example. I'm sure all of you would have also eaten. How many have tried and tested Kellogg's as a breakfast cereal? Yeah, this side. All of you have eaten Kellogg's? So did you eat Kellogg's with what? You tested Kellogg's or enjoyed it as a breakfast cereal in what? Cornflakes? Well, if I tell you the story of Kellogg's as in when it came into the Indian market, Kellogg's is a Western company. And in the Western world, they prefer a cold breakfast cereal. They even have cornflakes with cold milk. So when they came to India, they little did know, or they had not really seen as to what the Indian consumer is wanting. Or you, me, we are all more happy eating our parathas, idlis and pohas. So when they came into the market with those Kellogg bags with cornflakes, they actually hit the ground, they bit the dust. Because what happened was that the Indian didn't even want to eat the cornflakes with cold milk. And he wanted to add hot milk to that cornflakes, which made the cornflakes soggy and no longer as tasty as cornflakes should be. So when they saw all this, and their prices of the Kellogg's bag was much higher than our own Indian brands. So what happened was they actually reached a stage where they were being forced out of the Indian market. But this is where the resilience to fight through that VUCA world, which I spoke of, came in, wherein they decided to stay invested. They said, we'll play to the Indian tune, we'll play to the Indian market, and they targeted the Indian child, the Indian mother. What will get the Indian mother and attract her to feed those cereals to their sons? So, and the rest is history. Today, cornflakes or the Kellogg's cornflakes is actually a brand which is in every household. And it has taken them the long 20-25 years to navigate through this VUCA system. So this is what I'm trying to get at. So when you all, after your MBA, whilst you are here going in for your internship, and you get hold of your companies, you will get to see as to how and what is required of you. And I'll dwell on that separately as I move on. And they always don't have successful examples. The VUCA part of the world is very ruthless. To someone who is not prepared to evolve, it comes to a standstill. And I'll give you an example. I'm sure again all of you would know of Byju's. Everyone knows of Byju's, the EdTech company. Well, this EdTech company during the COVID pandemic, they were there in the forefront because it was an aggressive online model that they brought to the front. And schools had shut down, coaching centers had shut down. So Byju's became all popular. But they failed to realize that once the pandemic ended, schools opened up, coaching centers opened up. But they forgot to tweak or change with the changing time. They never evolved an offline engagement model. They continued to market the online model. And I think all of you know today, because of not having adjusted to the change that was required, they today are a company which is in serious debt, serious financial losses, and about to close down. I can see the faculty nodding their head. I hope you're in agreement with me. Okay. So that is where this VUCA world fits in. So if VUCA was one end, that was in 1987, all people who are related to the business world, they have evolved yet another word which is more closer to how the corporate should see it. And this is another acronym I'll introduce you to today. You can go and Google both these acronyms and read a whole lot about it. And the second acronym is BANI. BANI. Yeah, any faculty member who knows as to what is BANI? What does this acronym BANI stand for? Okay. Well, BANI, as far as the corporate world is concerned, is again an acronym. B stands for brittle, A stands for anxious, N stands for non-linear, and the I is incomprehensible. I'll give a short word on all these four words, and then we'll see as to how this BANI world needs to be navigated. Well, what is brittle? It refers to a system that appears strong but collapses under stress. Anything brittle, you are all aware. All those who are science students, you understand anything which is brittle is cracks easily as well. So brittle is trying to convey that viewpoint, and it's like any global supply chain or financial networks during a crisis. And therefore, what should our response be? You need to build resilience and not just efficiency. You need to be prepared for failure and design for adaptability. So that much for brittle for the time being. Let's see what is anxious. Well, in a world which is constant change, something which is change is constant, and anxiety therefore takes hold. Because there is change likely to happen, we all tend to become anxious. And it fuels fear, uncertainty, and even decision paralysis may set in. Both individuals and organizations can feel overwhelmed by the pace and unpredictability of events. The most effective response, therefore, lies in increasing your respective EQs or emotional intelligence, fostering transparency, and prioritizing mental well-being most importantly. Mental well-being to remove anxiety. I don't know how much of you or how many of you are aspiring to join Google after you do your MBA. Google as a company thrives on this facet of keeping anxiety of their workforce at bay. If you visit any Google company or any location of Google, I don't know whether Pune has Google, but you go and visit them, you will find if they are based on 4 floors, one floor of those 4 floors is dedicated to entertainment, indoor sports, computer games, to keep them gymnasiums, and you name it, to keep them away from this term anxiety and remaining anxious. The next is non-linear. I said that is the N of the BANI. Well, in today's world, cause and effect are no longer linear or proportional. Important point I'm making, small events can trigger massive and unpredictable outcomes, whether it's a vital piece of information or a sudden social movement. This non-linearity challenges traditional planning models and demands a new approach. The right response is therefore to embrace agility and flexible planning supported by scenario-based thinking. And the last was incomprehensible. They are difficult terms. You will have to get to grips with these terms to understand them fully. And incomprehensible events and systems are often very difficult to understand and explain. For example, a very typical example which is taking the world by the storm these days is artificial intelligence. People don't know how to come to grips with it. Whether it is good for us, whether it is unethical for the society, what would the future hold? Would it lay off people or the workforce will lose their jobs? So AI is that incomprehensible element which is gripping the world today. But what is important for all of you sitting here and why I'm raising VUCA or BANI to you is that you need to know what these terms mean, how they are going to stare you in the face, and how you need to successfully navigate through them. Well, let me give you some examples of BANI as to how BANI sort of affects the corporate world. You all are aware of Tesla and Elon Musk. He's making news all over every day. Well, Tesla is a fantastic example of an electric vehicle company. Electric cars have always been there. But when Tesla came in, it came in with a bang. It came in with a different concept altogether. They wanted to create the electric car as a totally new and different automotive experience. They pitched it at that level. They brought in such kind of deep tech innovation that other electric cars actually had no scope to even stand up against them. And they keep continuing to innovate as we speak now. whether it may be solar powered walls or whatever they are, whether they are integrating everything within that company. So Tesla today stands as a dominant player because they continue to innovate, continue to experiment, because when you innovate and you experiment, you take major and bold risks. So that is what, as a company, Tesla decided to do. And today it's a name which is leading the automotive market as far as the electric vehicle segment is concerned. Can anyone give me some other example of some other company which has done well? Yeah, let me have someone. Someone ready to interact and wanting to say, or people who've done some work X in which company they've worked and they have an example to share with me so that I can take a good example back and sort of think and talk of it later. Is there someone who's seen some example? Or if I can give you an example, I'll give you the company name and let me see if someone is ready to give out as to what are the pros and cons of, or what went wrong. We all use mobile phones. We all started with Nokia phones. But today, if you all take out your phones, I think 80% of you have iPhones. So what was it that was differently done by Nokia, or what Nokia did not do well enough and which the iPhone or the Apple industry did? I hope I'm making my point clear. The Nokia was the first basic mobile phone which came in the year around 2000. But Nokia somehow was so rigid. Anything that is rigid is bound to get brittle. Anything which is brittle is bound to break. And that's what Nokia ended up breaking their own selves. They were the leaders, but they failed to evolve. They continue to operate with the same operating system. For all those, is there anyone still holding on to a Nokia phone? So much for Nokia. So Nokia, which started first, has already perished. Whereas the Apple or the iPhone, which continued to evolve, they in fact decided when they came into the market in 2007, Apple decided that they are going to make the mobile phone an experience in handling something which allows you to communicate with the world. It was not only about communicating, it was an experience in varied facets. They viewed it as a mini computer which you carried in your pocket with a whole lot of user interfaces, whole lot of global applications. So, and that is where Apple and it today continues to evolve. Every year they come up with a new model, and hence they remain relevant. So you have an example of someone perishing, did not read the context of the Bani world or the VUCA world, and you have another company like the Apple or the iPhone which has evolved and now continues to dominate the market. Well, gentlemen, so much for VUCA and Bani, because I think I've taken too much of time on VUCA Bani. Expected a couple of you to perhaps know of these words, because these are important words and they are steering the corporate and the business world on a very daily and regular basis. With that, I'll move on to the second part. What I wanted to share with you all are certain mantras which I have kept very close to myself, and I'm very confident if you keep them close to yourself, they will help you to guide through your journeys in the respective corporate arenas or the corporate world that you end up joining. And my first is with respect to aptitude and attitude. I'm sure this someone will be able to answer. What are the difference between aptitude and attitude? No, if you want me, I can point the color of the tie sitting in whichever row and I can make you get up. Would you like me to do that? No, I won't embarrass any one of you on your very first day. Okay, I have a lady there. Come. I think it's a good attempt. Aptitude is something which is it's a skill-based term. That is something that you possess. It's your potential available with you to do something. It is a set of skills that you possess. There are certain innate skills that you are born with, certain skills that you develop. That is your aptitude. And what is your attitude? Attitude is how you approach. That was a very good word she brought out as to how you go about doing something to make things happen. And that is the approach towards doing a particular task. And there's a lot of difference, both aptitude and attitude. And what is more important, aptitude or attitude? Absolutely, you'll all agree with me that aptitude vis-a-vis attitude. In fact, I'll just give you a small homework when you go back to your rooms, that go back and list whole lot of attributes you think. Ki I must have X, Y, Z. I should be courageous. I should be X, Y, Z. You list out all lot of attributes that you can think of that a leader should possess or a corporate leader should possess. And when you list them out, now you start ticking against those, which is an attitudinal quality or which is an aptitude or a skill set. You will find that over 90% of whatever you have listed will fall under the category of attitude. And that is the importance of attitude over aptitude. You may have a weak skill set, but your attitude can make you still deliver and perform. Whereas a person with immense amount of skills, fully loaded with it, but a negative attitude, his deliverance is going to be always suboptimal. So remember, when you go for your placement interviews and all, for your summer internship, be mindful of the fact that your people who are hiring you are going to be looking at this facet of yours, that is attitude, and not the aptitude. Though I wish to make one more point over here, that both are also important to an extent. So have a mix of it. That is the ideal thing. Because what happens is when you have aptitude and you combine attitude with it, it gives you something personal, and that is your own altitude. You reach a level which is higher amongst your own eyes and in the eyes of your peers. So that is where aptitude and attitude fit in. So with that as the first one, the second one is very simplistic. We all have been told by our parents when we grew up, and I'm sure they keep telling you even today, that there is no shortcut to hard work. I hope everyone is in agreement with that. Because true and lasting success has no elevators. It only has stairs. You need to climb those stairs. You need to climb them one by one, because each stair is a learning in itself. So you need to go through those stairs to reach where you want to reach. There are no magic wands. There are no fast lanes available in this particular setting. Shortcuts may seem tempting, but they offer the illusion only of quick success. Most shortcuts are unsustainable, and they often come at the cost of quality, growth, or ethics. I'll move up faster. Issue related to hard work. This is something that I have always kept very close to myself ever since the last 40 years that I've been in the army, or even before at training, is that in whatever you do, give your best so that there are no regrets later. Follow that. Because, everyone, we are all born with our own skill sets I spoke of. We all have our own attitudes. Yes, you can improve on that. But there is a level of competence that each one has. You must perform up to that level. Once you have performed up to that level, then even if you don't see success, you will not feel bad, because you know that was your best. You couldn't have done better. But if you leave a job or a task with the mind or with the thought that kash main ye kar leta to shayad mera kaam ban jata, don't let that thought ever come by. And the first step that you're going to face, perhaps, and I'm referring it to again and again, is your summer internship. I have a daughter who's doing her MBA at SIBM. So I keep telling her this because she went in for a summer placement. And the only thing she's still worried whether I'll get my PPO. You're all familiar with these terms of getting a PPO, or these guys, it's your first or second day. But very important to put in your best. Thereafter you get it or not get it, you will not regret it, at least, because that was your best. That was the level of your competence. And that is the way you must live your life, and see each and every event and each and every job that you do in that light. I hope I'm not exceeding time. I can close whenever you tell me. Build your personal brand. This is a very important one again. You understand what is personal branding? That means today, the 5 of you sitting together, the students here, don't know each other. But it will be very soon that you will develop impressions of one another. You'll come to know that, okay, Gaurav knows this better and he's a straightforward guy, whereas Atul isn't a straightforward guy. He doesn't come across straight, and he has these plus minuses and things like that. So this personal branding is something very important, more so in the field that you all are going into. 2-3 points about it. Be truthful about it, because if you're truthful, then only can you be consistent. If you're trying to be a hypocrite and present a fake image of yourself, Gaurav to Atul or Atul to Gaurav, it's not going to last. You're going to be found out sooner or later. So create a brand image of yourself. That is the way you want to sell yourself. I'm using a negative word, but you finally, at the end of the day, a strong personal brand will thereafter, if you have created that brand, which has been truly and truthfully done, will help you to stand out in a crowded job market, attract right opportunities, and all stuff like that. It is something, let me tell you, when you leave the room, how people talk about you is the brand that you have created about yourself. And it is not what he's telling you in front of you. So create that kind of a personal brand for yourself, and it's going to hold you in good stead. I think I'm going very slowly. A quick one on two words or two phrases: never give in and never give up. Never give in is something very close to my heart. It used to be the motto of the school that I studied in. So never give in and never give up. Very simplistic. They sound very similar, but they are very different in meaning. Yeah, anyone can attempt that quickly. What's the difference between never give in and never give up? Yeah. So basically, as far as the two are concerned, they seem interchangeable, but they are not. Both suggest strength, perseverance, and resilience. But a closer look reveals a subtle yet profound difference between the two. So, what does never give up mean? When you don't give up, you stay committed to your vision, you keep working through setbacks, you believe in your ability to adapt, improve, and succeed. Whereas what is never given? When you don't give in, you uphold your principles, you resist unethical thoughts, you stay true to what you believe in. So, have you got the difference? Never give in is through external pressures, whereas never give up is your internal ability to stand up and continue and endure against whatever odds you are personally faced with. Have you got the point and the difference? So keep both in mind, both equally important. Like someone said, I noted this: fall 7 times, stand up 8, but stand up straight. So keep that, it is important, so that whenever you are faced with external pressures, comes to the next point: choose the harder right over the easier wrong. You guys are closely located to the National Defense Academy. It's a very important component of the NDA prayer, which every cadet repeats every morning, to asking God to help him to choose the harder right instead of the easier wrong. So it's all about carrying what? A moral compass with you. Let that moral compass guide you in whatever action that you do, so that you do not end up, for the purposes of a shorter cut, end up doing unethical things. So follow that, it's going to hold you in good stead. I'll leave you with one more thought, which is and a good book for all of you to read. And this is a book by Shiv Khera. I'm sure it's quite an old book, which goes by the name of You Can Win. And the catch or the phrase that he actually propagates in that book is: winners don't do different things, they do things differently. So follow that again, it's a very important one, and you'll see it as you move along in your course. You will find, guys, and I'm not looking at people who are very hard working, you will find in your own batch there's a student who's studying 12 hours a day, but when it comes to preparing and appearing in the exam, the poor guy is not really doing well enough, because he's not studying the right things. It's very important. If I can say, a person can be just studying 3 hours, but if he's able to sift as to the must or the could know, and the other guy is only reading the should knows for 12 hours, he's wasting his time. So it's very, very important to do it smartly. I leave another point with you, that it is, I don't know, you can debate it amongst your own selves, that is it better to be a person who is lazy and intelligent, or a person who is hardworking but stupid? Though all have their advantages, let me tell you. If I was to hire someone, I might like to hire a hardworking stupid guy also, because he'll also fit in somewhere. But what is better, a lazy or an intelligent guy who has that combination, or someone who has a combination of hardworking but stupid? So, yeah.
The lazy and intelligent guys, because he find a better way to The lazy and intelligent guy find a better way to do
तो
things.
मैंने खुद ही जवाब दे दिया था इसका.
Okay. Okay, fine.
But anyway, if you can answer what is good in the other guy, you tell me that. That's the difficult question. Yeah, why is the stupid and hard-working guy better? Yeah, please. Yeah, so therefore, when you are a leader and you are selecting your team, if you have in that team all lazy and intelligent, no one will work, let me tell you. You require that stupid and hardworking also. There has to be a mix in that team. The stupid and the hardworking, because you require that person who is going to do all that slogging and hard work. And there is someone who's sitting who's going to give that overall direction. So we leave it at that. Yeah, you want to say something?
Sir, I was saying that for a hardworking person, we can get the work done from him, but it only matters that a proper direction to be given. If an all proper direction and guidance is given, he can be worthwhile to invest in.
Okay, perfect. I won't sort of challenge that. It's a worth it one. It's a valid point. So, I've covered a whole lot of ground, and I think I'm already over time as far as I wanted, whatever. But I have certain facets. I thought I will leave one quick ones with you, as and when you move out in the outside world, to be good team leaders. Very important. Something which I've always followed. I followed it to date. I followed it when I was 40 years back as a young and a very junior leader. Today, being at the apex of leadership. The most important thing you all must remember is to run a happy and motivated team. And do whatever it needs. Everyone will have his own style to do it. Whatever it needs, make sure that you run a happy and motivated team. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of sacrifices on the part of the leader, but do it. That is one thing which will hold you in good stead. And connected with that team man that you should become is to accept responsibility. I leave you all with this last example before I close. To accept responsibility as a team leader or a corporate leader, you have to have broad shoulders. When things go wrong, don't play the blame game. You are the leader. When the team does well, you get the bouquets. So when the team does badly, take that responsibility of the poor performance of the team on yourself. And I'll quote for you. I don't know how many of you are from a services background here. Hands up. So I don't know, for all those of you who are from a services background, I'll narrate an incident from the World War II to you all. And this is World War II and dates to the this campaign happened when Germany had taken Europe by the storm. Everyone was reeling under the pressure of Germany. Especially they had captured France, and they had the Allies. You're aware, the Allies and the Axis powers, the Allies wanted to now liberate France, and they decided to do through to the sea route from UK, that is from England, across the English Channel. And they launched an operation which came to be known as Operation Overlord, which involved a massive amphibious operation with 500 ships, 1,500 aircrafts across the English Channel from England onto the northern coasts of France, centrally known as Normandy. And they came to be known as the Normandy landings. You can go and Google that. So the entire operation was under one General Eisenhower. He was the overall Allied force commander. And a lot of planning went into it because it was important for fighting against the Germans. And they decided a particular date, that is 6th of June 1944, that this Operation Overlord would be launched from England onto the northern coast of France. Now, 4th and 5th of June of 1944, the weather conditions deteriorated so badly that all his advisors and all the senior generals advised General Eisenhower that it would be foolish to launch this operation in these inclement weather conditions. For whatever reasons, he decided that yes, the operations will go in the morning of the 6th of June. And before he gave orders for the launching of this operation, General Eisenhower called his staff officer and wrote out a note and sealed the note and told him that once the operation is launched, go and deliver it to Winston Churchill, who was then the Prime Minister of England. And in that note, he only wrote one line, that I have taken this decision to launch this operation. Should anything go wrong, the decision was mine, and I and only I is to be blamed for this failure. So that was the kind of conviction with which he folded that letter, gave it to a staff officer to post. But rest is history. The operation was a success. France was soon sort of relieved of the turmoil it was in under the German occupation. And so much for Operation Overlord, but more for General Eisenhower and his conviction to hold and stand by his decision and take responsibility, good, bad, or ugly. So with that, I come to the close of whatever I wanted to share with you all today. It only remains for me to wish the Chancellor, the Vice Chancellor, the faculty present here, and the students of various, I believe, colleges, part of the Balaji University, the very best. Wishing you Godspeed, good luck, and Jai Hind.